Humans love nothing more than feedback. You've seen kids in an elevator that just want to push every button because it lights up. That's enough for the kid. They just want some kind of feedback. They don't even care what that feedback is a lot of the time, but humans love getting something back from the environment. We really respond very sensitively to feedback. And here's a great example of this. This is from Reddit. Some of you may know the website Reddit. It's basically a community of people who go to subpages, and the subpages focus on different things. If you like cats, there'll be a page with funny cats, and they'll be sorted by like most funny to least funny cat, and so on. So this is Reddit. Now, one of the pages on April 1st, 2015, just popped up out of nowhere. It was called The Button. Now, the button worked like this. What you have is the button, and you have a timer that counts down from a minute. It starts at 60 seconds, and it counts down. And every time someone pushes the button somewhere in the world, one of the hundreds of thousands of users of Reddit, the counter starts at 60 again. And once you push the button, you get a little badge. You can only push it once. And your badge color is determined by how low the number is when you push. So in the beginning, when they first released it, it was going down to 59 seconds, and then someone in the world would push it. And eventually, a lot of people had pushed it, so it went down a little further to 58, 57, 56. It gave you nothing. You get nothing for pushing this button. But people pushed it, and they didn't just push it. They sat there, and they watched this button for 7 weeks, which is staggering. Because what happened was, as the number counted down, they got different badge colors. So if you pushed it between 52 and 60 seconds, you got a purple badge. And people made fun of you because they called you impatient. And you could see here the percentage of people who clicked and got the different badges, and also the first date on which you could earn each badge. So the first person to earn the purple badge was obviously the 1st of April. The next day you could get between 42 and 51 seconds because the herd had thinned out. By April 4th, it was 32 to 41 seconds, and so on, until on May 18th, we're talking about 7 weeks later, there's a guy named Big Goron, that was his username on Reddit. He pushed the button last, and he was a massive celebrity. People celebrated Big Goron. They asked him questions like, how did you do it? What was it that made you the holder of the chalice of the final presser, the key to this whole mystery? And he said, I wanted to know more than anything what would happen if I waited till the end, and so I waited till I thought I'd be the last presser. Because when he pressed it, it went to 60, and then it ticked down to 0, so he was the last one. And there were also people who never pressed it, and they were deeply frustrated because they thought they'd get some reward for holding out. But Big Goron said, so I pressed it, and I wanted to be the last person because I thought Reddit would like throw money at me or something. There was nothing. This whole exercise was a big joke on the part of Reddit because they know that people just like feedback. They like pressing buttons. And so Reddit pressed their buttons, and it was very effective. Now, as a business move, this is a sort of weird example, but it's very effective generally to do this, and we know this from lots of examples. We know this from animal behavior studies. So if you put a pigeon in front of a little light, and you let the pigeon peck to get food, there are different ways you can do this. You can get the pigeon to peck, say, every 10 pecks will give it a couple of pellets of food. So it sits there, it pecks 10 times, the food comes out, it eats the food. It gets hungry, it pecks 10 more times. Pigeons do this because they like feedback just like humans do. But one thing you can do that makes them go absolutely crazy and peck like maniacs is you can not tell them when they're going to get the food. Make it unpredictable. So the pigeon pecks twice, a ton of food comes out. The pigeon's like, this is amazing. But then it pecks 27 times, nothing comes out. On the 28th time, a mountain of pellets comes out. This is like what we do when we go gambling. It's exactly the same experience. So it's not just feedback that we like, but it's feedback when we don't know what the outcome is going to be, which is why the Reddit button worked so well, and why these pigeons go crazy for unpredictable feedback, and why people can't stop gambling. So if you can build feedback into any experience that you have, anything that's static on a website, make sure it gives you feedback. And it can be very minor, mild feedback, incidental feedback, like a button, you hover over something and the button lights up. This stuff, when I talked to Bennett Foddy about it, he told me that in gaming terms, this is called juice. You make sure that as people do things in the game, they get feedback, no matter how small, and the feedback should match whatever they're doing. So if you're running in a game, the grass should bend a little bit to show that you're running through the grass, for example. So we do this because people seek out feedback, which I've told you, and it's got to be random. And this juice that you inject into experiences, this feedback you get that says you are doing something, you are acting on this environment, or you are working on this website, and it's like something's ticking along to show you that you're making progress, that stuff really, really matters to people. It drives their behavior.